Welcome into MIAA Saturday. I'm Calvin Silvers.
And I'm Harry Loomis.
We are almost halfway through the regular season as we head into week 5 of the MIAA fall season, and the competition is becoming fierce.
It was an absolute shootout in Topeka with the Ichabods hosting the Griffins. Second quarter, Griffins' Anthony Vespo had a huge game, breaking the school record for passing yards, connecting here on a deep ball to Cooper Burton. 37-yard score, one of 3 touchdowns for Burton, ties the game. But in the fourth quarter, the Ichabods, Mitch Schurig with a 33-yard strike to Jace Williams to put Washburn up for good. They win it 47-41.
Switching over to Nebraska Kearney at Central Missouri, the Mules looking for their first win of the season and had the 12th-ranked Lopers on edge. Quarterback Logan Tweehouse lofts a dime to Cameron Saunders in the back of the end zone for a 26-yard passing touchdown, going up 28-24. However, the Lopers wanted to keep their record unblemished, and TJ Davis runs to the left, scoring the game-winning touchdown with 22 seconds left to put the Lopers on top 31-28.
Home opener for the Bearcats taking on Central Oklahoma. First drive, Mike Cohensee gets picked in the end zone by Dylan Buckheit. The game stayed scoreless in the first, but 2 seconds left in the second quarter. Cohensee's Hail Mary is answered by Alec Tatum. He hangs onto the ball and the Bearcats pull away to win 38-0.
Looking at Fort Hays State versus Missouri Southern, the Lions were trying to secure a win on homecoming. Early in the first, Lions running back Nathan Glades wanted to get the celebrations going, using his shiftiness to break off a 62-yard sprint to the end zone, tying the game at 7. The Tigers finally got their offense going, scoring 28 unanswered points, which was capped off with the Tigers' Chance Fuller connecting with a sitting Alex Schremer in the back of the end zone. Fort Hays State would go on to win 42-21.
Lincoln hosting Northeastern in this one. Zamar Brake with the home run ball to Charles Johnson's hands. Part of Brake's 454-yard performance to give the Blue Tigers the lead. This game needed overtime, and in the end, it was Isaiah punching it in from 2 yards out. The extra point gave the Riverhawks a 49-48 win.
We end with Emporia State at the Jungle against Pittsburgh State. The Gorillas set the tone early, with Max Sexton hitting Tyler Coleman off the 32-yard corner post to go up 14-0. The Hornets fought to the end, with quarterback Braden Gleason tucking the ball and putting his shoulder down to get into the end zone. There wouldn't be enough time, however, and Pittsburgh State escapes 30-28.
Now here's a look at the standings through 4 weeks. No change at the top with Northwest and Kearney undefeated. Washburn and Pitt State are right there at 3-1. Emporia, Northeastern, Missouri Western, and Fort Hays are all sitting 2-2. Missouri Southern and Central Oklahoma right behind them, and Central Missouri and Lincoln round out the standings.
We got to witness some great performances all around the MIAA this week, but there were 4 players who caught our eyes. We began with 2 Mammoth Turf MIAA Offensive Players of the Week. The first recipient was Washburn quarterback Mitch Schurig. Schurig was zoned in, going 24-30 for passing, 5 touchdowns, 388 yards, and 0 interceptions in a 47-41 win over the Griffins. Schurig got 9 different receivers involved, and the 5 touchdowns is second on the Ichabod single-game chart. The other recipient was Northwest Missourian State wide receiver Alex Tatum. Tatum caught 11 passes for 205 yards and 2 touchdowns, including a 44-yard Hail Mary to close out the first half. The 205 receiving yards propelled Tatum to 4th all-time in single-game yardage for the Bearcats.
For the second straight week, the Mammoth Turf Defensive Player of the Week is Jackson Barnes of Northwest Missouri. The senior linebacker had 3 tackles for a loss along with a sack in the Bearcats win, and the Bearcats defense as a whole limited Central Oklahoma to just 122 yards. The Mammoth Turf Special Teams Player of the Week is Triumphant Olin Tucci of Northeastern State. He recorded a 70-yard kick return, the longest we've seen all year, to set up a 15-yard drive to give the Riverhawks the lead. He was good on defense too, adding 10 tackles.
Now let's take a dive into matchups happening around the MIAA today. Washburn kicks off the afternoon action against Emporia State in Emporia, Kansas. Pittsburgh State starts a slate of 2 o'clock games in Joplin, Missouri versus Missouri Southern. Lincoln will be in Edmond, Oklahoma, searching for their first win against Central Oklahoma. Central Missouri will look to right the ship when they travel to match up against Northeastern State. Northwest travels 45 minutes south to St. Joseph to battle the Griffins of Missouri Western. And the last game of the night features unbeaten Nebraska Kearney and Fort Hays State in Hays, Kansas. So I'm here with head coach Chris Brown of Fort Hays State. Coach, how are you doing?
Doing well. Doing really well.
Awesome. Well, before we jump into this upcoming week's game, we're going to look at last week's game a little bit. And last week at Missouri, or playing against Missouri Southern, your running back, Adrian Soto, had a 198-yard rushing performance, which is just crazy. That's insane for a running back to have. And this was fresh off a 100-yard performance that he had earlier last week. Talk about his recent dominance in the game, and also your offensive line to allow Soto to have such an outbreak of a performance.
I think just his growth, as a player, maturing and understanding our offense and how things work. Our old line starting to gel better than what I had in the first couple of weeks. Understanding, because we had some new guys, up front that hadn't really played together in the game, and that takes some time to get used to one another, the communication, knowing when to come off, and then with Adrian learning how to read those blocks and when to hit the hole, when not to hit the hole, and when to be a little bit more patient. And he just really grown and matured, as a true running back. And I wish I would have known it was 198. I would probably give him one more carry to get him to 200. But I'm proud of this kid and the way he's acted, and it goes the way he practices. He practices hard every single day. Every rep is full speed. And he's really trying to truly give himself a real look of game day, and that's why he's being so successful right now. Him and our NRO line up front.
And it's good to have a player like that is continuously growing. And it's like I said, 198, 100 yards before that. What else can he do if he just keeps growing? It might get to that 200-yard point. So that's awesome to see. 114 total points scored in the last two contests for you guys combined. Where is this offensive onslaught coming from? Is this a major focus in practice? Is the offense finally starting to gel together? What's going on there? 114 total points. That's insane.
I think it's just, everything's starting to come together. The timing's coming together, with the O-line and the run game, our receivers and our quarterbacks, being a little bit smarter with the ball, running better routes, just all those things that go into being an explosive offense. And, getting our run game going is a big part of it. If you just become one-dimensional and all you can do is throw the ball, teams tend to pin their ears back, and those D linemen are loving it, trying to get to the quarterback. So being able to offset it with some run game has really helped us out. But it's just guys getting on the same page again, knocking that rust off a little bit, having better field position, not turning the ball over, is a big part of it as well. And just all those things coming together has helped us out.
Yeah, and it's good to see that's coming together so early in the season. I know we're about halfway through, but it's better to get that earlier on than later on. So that's awesome there. You're still talking about Southern. Talk about the importance of your team in that matchup against Southern, where both teams were 1-2 at the time, and to come out with a win to avoid falling below 500.
It was huge for us. It was a very important game for us. Just like every game right now is really important for us. Coach Bradley has really changed that program around at Southern. I mean, he's got those guys playing hard. He's got some older guys, but he's got a lot of young guys below. But the thing that I noticed with them is they play hard every single play, whether it was the first quarter or the fourth quarter. No matter what the score was, those guys played their tails off every single play. And that's the hat goes off to him for that, because that's hard to do, when you're coming to a new program that hasn't been so successful. And he's going to have that thing turned around in no time. But for us, our backs have been against the wall since week 2. We go 0-2, and our goal is always to win a conference championship and get into the playoffs. And, when you lose 2 in a row and you're sitting there 0-2, you have to win out and to give yourself an opportunity to get in the playoffs. So, we had to change some things in practice. The way we practiced harder. We put more time into the film room, and that's on our kids. All that stuff goes to your kids. You can tell them what to do, but they're the ones that have to do it. So you've seen them, get in different groups, quarterbacks and wide receivers, watching game film together, and tight ends and linemen watching game film together, and just trying to get everybody on the same page. And the same with the defense. Defensive backs have all been together, making sure they're preparing themselves to get ready. But it goes, whatever they put into it is how successful they're going to be. If they don't put very much into it, there's not going to be much success. And, they've really put the time in the last 2 weeks, and they're doing it this week as well against Kearney.
Yeah, and that's great to see that you have a team that, like you said, 0-2 back against the wall, really come, you could have just gave up. They could have just gave up and say, you know what, it's going to be hard to do this, but they're working hard. So that's awesome for you guys. And let's look at the game coming up here on Saturday. 12th ranked Nebraska Kearney coming into Hays, Kansas. What's the atmosphere going to be like? Because not only is it a top 15 opponent, but it's also homecoming for you guys.
It's going to be a great atmosphere. I mean, our fans are tremendous. We've had great, attendance so far, around 5,000, 6,000 every game. I could see this one being just a little bit more just because of homecoming. Everybody wanting to come back. It's Kearney. It's a big rivalry game. It used to be a big rivalry game. Hopefully we're bringing that back into being a big rivalry game as well. Just because they're a couple hours down the road, but it's going to be a great atmosphere. You got 2 good football teams going to go at it. And, Kearney wants to be 5-0, and we want to be 3-2 and get in the mix as well. And, Coach Lynn's doing a great job with that group of young men, and he's recruiting well, and he's got a great coaching staff. So I see it being a real physical game. 2 teams that's trying to go at it, trying to win ball games and get themselves to maybe be in the hunt for playoffs or even maybe possibly tie for a conference championship or something like that.
Yep, that game's going to be fun. It's going to be loud. It's going to be crazy. Can't wait for that experience for you guys. We really haven't talked about your team's defense as much. It's really been offensive focus. The questions have been, but the Lopers will field quarterback TJ Davis, and he's just been having a spectacular season so far. He's making quite a name for himself. So I guess defensively, what's the game plan, or how do you begin to stop an athlete like that in Davis?
I think our defense has done pretty well all year long, especially given our offense and put us in some situations to get to score points, and also just getting us out of some situations that were bad and just allowing a field goal or keeping teams off the field. But TJ, he's every game you watch, every team struggles with him. Even though you try to corral him and keep him under wrap, he finds a way to make plays. So it's we know he's going to make some plays. You just can't get frustrated when he makes those plays. You just got to keep playing football. But the best thing you do is try to keep the ball out of his hands and make him. Everybody used to try to make him a passer, but now he's improved that game tremendously as well, because now he can throw the ball, throw the outs, throw the deep ball, and all those things. So he's a true quarterback now, and he's going to be hard to deal with. We just got to make sure that we don't give him too many big plays and too many opportunities to make things happen.
Well said. That's a good point. Just, he's going to make a play. He's just an athlete like that, but limit the big plays there, and that will help you guys. Last question for you before I let you go. Winners of 8 straight against the Lopers. Where have you found your success recently, and how can your team make it 9 straight?
I think it's just being consistent on both sides of the ball. Special teams are going to be huge in this game as well. They're good on special teams. We're good on special teams. Changing that field position. Us not turning the ball over on offense. Getting some explosive plays. Establishing the run game. Trying to keep their offense off the field, I think, is the main thing that we got to do. And if we can do that, I think we can have success. And then defensively, just containing him as much as we possibly can, and not letting him out of the pocket, and not letting him have big runs. But they have other weapons as well. The receivers are very good. They got strong tailbacks. Throw line's very strong up front. So we got to find a way to stop the run game or slow their run game down and not give up the big play and make them earn everything. But it's going to be a team effort. It's going to be offense helping defense, defense helping offense, and special teams help them both. And if we can do that and play solid and play physical and be aggressive, I think we have a good chance to win this ball game.
I would agree with you. That was head coach Chris Ballin from Fort Hays State. Thank you, Coach. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
Looking more in depth in today's matchup, my eyes will be on the Nebraska Kearney versus Fort Hays State game. Nebraska Kearney has won their last 2 games by combined 7 points. The key for the Lopers in this matchup is the defense creating separation for the offense. While the Lopers have held teams to 28 points or less through 4 games, they're putting a lot of stress and pressure on the offense to close out opponents. While the Kearney defense has the bend but don't break mentality, you don't want to keep pressing your luck, especially against a high-powered Tiger offense who scored 114 total points the last 2 games. For Fort Hays State, it's similar to Nebraska Kearney, as the defense will be on high alert this weekend. The Tigers need to contain TJ Davis, as he's created havoc for opposing defenses with both his legs and arm. If the Tigers can limit Davis from escaping the pocket, he'll have to try and beat Fort Hays State with his arm, something he hasn't had to do yet this season.
My eyes are definitely in St. Joseph for Northwest Missouri at Missouri Western. It's arch rivals going at it.
Northwest is going in undefeated, and I don't think anyone would enjoy ending their run more than Matt Williamson and the Griffins. But to do so, they have to figure out the defense. They allowed 532 yards of offense to Washburn, and that's not going to be enough. They also need a complete game. Every game for the Griffins, they have one half where they look dominant and another where they struggle. It'll take a full 60-minute performance to beat the Bearcats. For Northwest, it's about not letting the moment get to you. This is a big game. The Griffins are going to come out fired up. Let them make a mistake because of that. The Bearcats have always been good on capitalizing on mistakes, and that's really the biggest thing. Just play Northwest football. They match up great with Missouri Western. Both teams had big offensive performances last week, but Northwestern allowed a shutout where the Griffins gave up 47. If they just play Bearcat football, they're going to be fine. But this is going to be one heck of a game.
And now it's time for this week's Sponsor Spotlight. All right, everyone, I am here with Greg Whiston from Seigfreid Bingham. Greg, how are you doing today?
Good, how are you?
Oh, I'm doing fantastic. And we got a lot to talk about, so let's just dive right into it. Can you talk about Seigfreid Bingham and their partnership with the MIAA?
Sure. So just by way of background for those who don't know, Seigfreid Bingham, we're a local law firm here in Kansas City, have about 50 attorneys. And we're a wide-ranging full-service law firm that does everything from litigation to estate planning to corporate work. So we've really worked with the MIAA for several years now, and our partnership I really kind of see is twofold. There's your traditional attorney-client kind of partnership, right? Where over the years we've been tasked with doing a lot of legal work for the MIAA, from litigation support to assistance with contracts and things like that. So there's that aspect of it. But I also have found that over the years that there's more than just a relation. The firm has sponsored the MIAA football and basketball media days for the last several years. We feel that's an important way to kind of give back to the MIAA and show our support. And then, even with our legal services, I see something like we're doing with the Empower You program, which we'll talk about here a little later, as more of a partnership than a traditional attorney doing work for a client. I mean, the goal in that program, in conjunction with the MIAA, was to really partner up and provide the best resources possible for the MIAA and its member institutions to help empower their student athletes, empower their institutions to, take full advantage of this new name, image, and likeness world that we're living in today.
Yeah. And so it sounds like you guys are doing a lot with the MIAA and just what Seigfreid Bingham is overall. So good stuff there. And what are some of the areas where Seigfreid Bingham can provide expertise in the college athletics realm?
Yeah. So, like I said, Seigfreid Bingham is a pretty full-service law firm. We do everything across the legal landscape, but specific to college athletics, I think our expertise lends itself to litigation, including injury litigation, liability issues. We have worked not only with the MIAA, but with several other Division II conferences in connection with the nationwide class action litigation that's been going on for several years relating to head trauma. So that's certainly an area, litigation work and is certainly an area of expertise in the college athletics realm. Beyond that, contracts, vendor contracts, event facility contracts. We've done a lot of those for a lot of different sports and entertainment clients. So certainly some expertise there. And then, name, image, and likeness is certainly becoming one of those expertise areas, and something that we've really tried to stay on top of over the last year, a little more as things have developed and, created our Empower You program, and are really trying to, offer our expertise in that area to not only the MIAA, but all of our clients.
And that's a good thing to do. You got a lot of these young athletes, and with the new, like you said, name, image, likeness. So it's good to see that. And I kind of want to talk more about that. I know you kind of just talked about it, but let's go maybe more in depth here. Like you said, you helped launch Empower You this year, with the focus being on that name, image, likeness. So what was your approach to this, and what type of results have you seen so far from it?
Yeah, so like I said, this is something that we've been tracking really for, over a year or so, as we saw this coming down the pike. I mean, I think everybody knew for a long time that, this name, image, and likeness was kind of the elephant in the room. Something was going to give, things were going to change. All signals were pointing that direction. And so me and my colleague Curry Sexton, who actually is a former Division I student athlete himself, played football at K-State, kind of recognized that. And as things developed, we were really studying the issues. We wrote several blog posts, articles, keeping up with all the developments. And as we were doing that, and frankly, amongst ourselves and in conversation with Commissioner Racy, we really identified that when this thing goes live, meaning when name, image, and likeness is allowed and that world exists, that there's going to be a lot of support needed, because this is something that is going to present a number of issues, both legal issues under state law, compliance issues with the NCAA, and then just general, things you may not think about that there might be legal ramifications for when a student athlete's basically running their own business that is their name, image, and likeness. And so we recognize that, and in talking to Mike, talking to some of the other conference commissioners that we work with, Curry and I really felt that we wanted to be on the forefront with a product or a service, a legal service that we could have out there right at the beginning to help our conference clients, member institutions navigate the challenges. And, we think that unlike other areas of maybe NCAA compliance, name, image, and likeness, we feel is important to have a legal voice or a law firm partner, because you are talking about laws, right? I mean, these are things where the NCAA has basically deferred to state law to govern name, image, and likeness. And so you're going to have different states. We already see it. We have within the MIAA footprint, we have some states who have passed laws, and those laws aren't the same. We have some states who haven't passed any laws whatsoever. So it's really wide open in the wild, wild west. And so understanding the laws, understanding, what they mean. And quite frankly, these laws are pretty, I'm not going to say poorly written. I'm not going to be too critical on our legislature, but they're basic and they're vague. And so there's not a lot of clarity in them. And so inevitably there are going to be things that come up where you're going to need some legal interpretation or an opinion as to what does this vague term mean? What can we do? What can't we do? And so I think we all recognize that this is an area where legal expertise is going to be critical. And so that was top of our mind, and why we launched Empower You to really get ahead of that.
And I was going to say, you mentioned that people have talked about this for a while now, and we kind of saw it, but now that it's here, it's up to, you're going to understand it way better than the kids, or maybe even some of the coaches, or even some of the institutions. So it's great that you guys are doing that and wanted to be one of the first ones to help these kids, because I think they deserve it, and I'm sure you guys do as well. And then I just
and that's I didn't mean to interrupt, but I was just going to add one more thing I was going to throw out there is there certainly is a legal kind of guidance piece of this where we want to provide guidance to conference institutions, regarding the laws and what they mean, compliance. But part of this too is, we call it Empower You for a reason, because we want to empower the student athlete and make sure that they're fully equipped with what they need. And so kind of a second pillar of this program is an educational component. And through our partnership with the MIAA throughout the year, we're going to be providing webinars for coaches that are kind of outlining some key legal issues and developments that are happening along the way. We're going to have a semester. Each semester, there's going to be a webinar available for all MIAA student athletes, where we're going to cover kind of the important issues of the day with name, image, and likeness, and just legal issues that should be on the athlete's mind. So that is a very important component of this program, is really helping the student athletes and the coaches and really everybody in the athletics department to understand it the best they can and to maximize the benefits for their players and their schools.
That's awesome. That is a great thing that you guys are doing. And the last question that I have for you, and you kind of already answered it right there, which is great. And it's, what other projects or initiatives are you guys doing in place with Seigfreid Bingham?
Yeah, so it's kind of an exciting time right now at Seigfreid Bingham. I mean, in my world, the Empower You program, the name, image, and likeness, that's keeping me pretty busy, because that's changing every single day, even by the hour. It seems like, there's news all over the place about it. But, the legal world's pretty on fire right now. Like I said, we're a full service law firm, so we're in a lot of different industries. I think, we've got folks in our transactional side that are just extremely busy with mergers, acquisitions, because there's some worry or concern about some tax implications that may come at the beginning of the next year. So there's a lot of rush to get that done at the end of this year. So that's kind of an exciting thing that's going on with our firm. We have the class action cases that we talked about with some of our conference clients. That's kind of starting to heat up, and there's becoming a little more action there. And then and then the COVID-19 continues to be a hot topic issue in the legal world. We represent a lot of big employers, small employers, just employers across Kansas City, and navigating all the new requirements, whether it be vaccination requirements or new administrative orders. That's just a constantly evolving area that at least, especially for our employment lawyers here, is I think continues to keep everybody busy. So no shortage of projects and work to do here, and I suppose that's a good thing.
I suppose it is. It keeps you out of trouble, right? But it sounds like you are keeping busy and doing great things. And like I said, just with the name, image, likeness, the stuff that you guys are doing for these athletes, coaches, is very great. And Greg, I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to me today and talk about Seigfreid Bingham and Empower You.
No problem. Thank you so much for having me.
Yep, have a good one.
Sounds like Greg and Seigfreid Bingham are doing great things for the MIAA.
Now let's take a look at next week's matchups. Central Oklahoma is at Northeastern on Thursday, Emporia State at Central Missouri Saturday, Washburn hosts Fort Hays in their Hall of Fame game, Northwest hosts Pitt State for Military Appreciation Day, it's homecoming for Lincoln against Missouri Southern, and the Griffins are at Nebraska Kearney for their homecoming as well.
That will do it for MIAA Saturday. We look forward to seeing you again here next week.
Be sure to follow us across our social media platforms and catch all the MIAA action on the MIAA network. I'm Harry Loomis.
And I'm Calvin Silvers. See you next week.